Hello? 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 Is anyone listening to this? Are you two even there? Am I here? What are we doing? We're doing Time Ram. Welcome back to Time Ram. Welcome back. That's optimistic, isn't it? I'm assuming you've listened to one and decided to listen to another. Welcome to Time Ram, voyager of ye internet. You've happened upon a Doctor Who podcast, but stick with it because it's got an inventive premise behind it. And that is we use a random number generator, and that gives us a number from between 1 and 13. And that gives us a doctor, and a number between 1 and that gives us a story. And so we've been doing this for a couple of episodes now, on and off, and we're kind of getting into our swing, aren't we, chaps?
Yeah.
And the chaps here with me are Mr. Paul Ferry down there on my screen.
Hello.
And Mr. Barry Williams floating above him with a blurry background.
Hello.
Why is your background blurry?
I've no idea. Somebody's done the setting on this. I don't understand how my software works.
Has your computer been drinking?
One of us should have been.
For those of you who can't see, which is everyone because this doesn't have visuals, Baz has got one of those blurring filters on his Zoom call that makes the background go all blurry. And when he moves around like that, it confuses it and it looks like he's in the web planet. And that's great. Maybe one day he will be. Because in Time Ram, anything can happen. So we ran the random numbers last time, and we've got the magnificent combination of Patrick Troughton in the waters of Mars.
Yay.
What do you think of that, chaps?
Yay.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. It's more promising than
You
last
can
week.
see how the enthusiasm level in Time Ram boils like a raging volcano. It is like a man, and he's asleep, and then suddenly, boom, he wakes full of life. It's like that here, I tell you.
Go ahead, Time Ram.
So, Patrick Troughton in the waters of Mars.
Yeah.
One thing that I remember we said when we discussed it very briefly was that, okay, something in our favor here is this is based on just each story.
Yeah.
You know, in actual structure and setup, actually, it's quite Troughton. Trouble is, Troughton did always have, at the barest minimum, one companion with him. And David Tennant had none, so we're going to have to shoehorn the companions in. So I think first we should decide where we are in the history of Doctor Who. Where does it sit in which season? You know, who are the companions?
I'm kind of drawn towards the sort of wheel in space slot. The Doctor can turn up with Jamie and then leave again with Jamie and Zoe. And that would seem to fit for me. I mean, it's as it stands, it's paced like an action film. But yeah, you pad that out to 6 episodes.
Exactly,
you've got a classic
faces,
classic face under siege.
I was thinking that Jamie could be. I mean, I don't know if we're going to cut all the sort of angsty stuff out of it, but Jamie could be sort of like the Doctor's conscience. So when the Doctor is kind of going, oh, maybe we should just go and leave these people to it. He's like, oh no, you can't leave.
I've gone too far.
You can't leave these people on their own, Doctor.
I've gone too far,
They'll
Jamie.
be doomed.
I kind of feel it should sit exactly where the moon base is because it's the same kind of story. It's about, you know, humans in this century now, you know, the century that we're in. I think when is Waters of Mars set? 2040 something.
2059.
2059. Moon base is something like 2070.
Yeah.
So that, you know, they're kind of, that places them fairly contemporary in our exploration of the solar system, which, I mean, we know from Ambassadors of Death, we were sending probes to Mars in the 70s, apparently. But this is clearly the world where Quatermass won. And yeah, I mean, it's problematic in that you've then got Ben, Polly, and Jamie to fit into a companionless story. But, you know, if one's the conscience, that works. Jamie's the conscience. Ben, I think Ben would take the place of the robot. He'd find a lunar rover that would be an ingenious Shawcraft pedal machine that Michael Craze had to pedal around. Worth it for that. And Polly makes the coffee.
It is kind of, it's the 60s, isn't it? So everyone's terribly excited about space travel.
Massively,
So,
yeah.
That's why they spend the first episode of the moon base just going, hey, we're on the fucking moon. I can't believe it. It's brilliant.
And also another similarity that struck me is that you've got a sort of similar setup. The TARDIS materializes on the surface and the Doctor comes out in a spacesuit and goes walking on this planet. Very like the moon. Yeah, you don't get that often. The Doctor very rarely comes out, walks onto an airless planet in a spacesuit. Does in the moon base. And if it would look like that, that's exactly what it would look like.
Yeah,
I think you can actually translate an awful lot of the designs and look of the moon base over to the waters of Mars fairly easily. So that's my case for that one.
Yeah, I love those moon base spacesuits.
I wish to bring them back
with the big globes. Yeah,
with the mittens. What's not to love about a spacesuit with mittens?
And I wish we'd done that in Time Base, because I would have done the gag of the Doctor. You'd have some really nicely made spacesuit that Phil had made with he'd spent ages on it. And then you'd have someone in this duvet thing with crisscrossers and the vast globe. And the Doctor's standing there going, yeah, of course mine looks really simple. We can build TARDISes. Yours are shit. I've got a meadow in here. Imagine having a meadow in a spacesuit. Wouldn't work, would it?
You're trying to work his sonic screwdriver in his mittens.
You can have sonic mittens. You can have sonic specs. You can have sonic mittens.
Yeah.
So, Paul, what's your opinion on where it goes?
I think you've got the casting vote, Paul.
You're going to randomly say season 6 now just to fuck it up. This goes in place with the mind robber because they're so damn similar.
I think it's a lot to cram Ben and Polly in as well. I think it would work better with sort of just Jamie, or initially just Jamie, and then maybe if Zoe worked on Mars. And not everybody was dead by the end of it. Actually, not everybody is dead by the end of it.
Nobody is dead. You can make a case for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
There's 2 that aren't dead, isn't it? There's 2 that are. But by the time Adelaide shoots herself, there's 2 that aren't dead, isn't it?
The 2 prettiest cast members make it, which is nice.
Yeah.
Well, it would definitely be Zoe then, wouldn't it? In a nice short skirt.
Yeah. There's a Zoe fan in the room.
Yes, I'll always make the case for Zoe.
So settled on the wheel and space slot then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. Yeah. Shall we run through it then?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've kind of already covered the opening. The Doctor lands on Mars and he's coming out the TARDIS in a spacesuit and he's spotting the Mars base, Bowie base.
And they stand there and Jamie goes, look at the size of that thing, Doctor. And Troughton goes, yes, Jamie, it is a big one, isn't it? That's when they do that.
It totally wouldn't be called Bowie base, though, would it?
No, it wouldn't, really, would it?
Definitely wouldn't, because he wasn't even around then. Yeah. Well, he was around, but he wasn't known.
Yeah, what would you call it, blimey?
Elvis Central.
Yeah, Cliff Richard base, yeah.
Someone from the 20s, I don't know, sort of Louis Armstrong, something like that.
To be fair, yeah, in the 60s, it would be like X5 or something like that.
Yeah.
It would be X5, isn't it? It would be Mars base X5.
Yeah,
probably X-5.
Yeah. They're immediately arrested by a robot.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, Gadget the robot. I mean, we're probably a fair way into episode 1 at this point. They're going to spend quite a bit longer exploring Mars on we'll
have had an opening TARDIS scene at least.
Yeah.
I would guess.
Yeah.
I think it would be a sort of servo robot type thing.
It would be like the servo robot. Of course it would.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's going to be fun when they try and Super Doctor make it go really fast.
I mean, I suppose if it is in the Weird and Space slot, Jamie's mourning Victoria. So there's quite a lot of...
We don't know. We don't know if Victoria left in the previous story.
Oh, right.
I thought she must have done, actually, because we've got... There are fixed points in Time Ram, aren't there?
There are fixed points in Time Ram.
Yeah, whenever a companion leaves or a Doctor changes, that's yeah, okay.
Otherwise, we're going to get hopelessly confused. Yeah.
Oh, gonna get.
That's going to happen anyway.
The optimism of it.
I'm going to start doing a spreadsheet. It's just the only
I was thinking one of us is going to have to start. Yeah, we're going to need that soon. So, yeah,
definitely.
Doing like a big circle, like Paul McCartney, a big wheel. So that's a magical mystery tour reference.
Okay, so they get attacked by the servo robot, which is excellent.
Servo robot, yeah.
Does it say Gadget Gadget? I hope not. Does it say Servo Servo?
Servo Servo.
Maybe it does, but it sounds like the robot from Fireball XL5, which is actually Cyberman anyway.
How does that sound?
Well, I haven't got one of the throat things, but like a Cyberman from the 60s.
Oh, just exactly like a Cyberman. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same.
It was actually Jerry Anderson, wasn't it?
It was Jerry Anderson, yes. Yes. But this isn't.
No.
This is Freddie Foot.
Who?
The servo robot, I think.
I was just thinking somebody would do the voice. Would it be like David Graham or something like that? But
I don't think it has a voice. I don't think all it says in is Gadget Gadget, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they just wouldn't have it speaking. It would be doing radiophonic burbles by Brian Hodgson.
Oh yeah.
You get a bit pissed off with that robot, wouldn't you, after a while, the Gadget one, because you've got all the trouble of programming it to speak, and it can speak one word that doesn't actually convey anything.
And Anne says it twice just to piss you off. Oh, I just despise it from the word go. The moment that door opened, it went Gadget Gadget. I felt exactly the same way. I thought that, oh no, this is bloody Roger from the Phantom fucking all over again. It will die. It will die. So the fact that it's been replaced by the silent servo robot in its radiophonic burbles is a pleasure to me. Not a sentence to say very often. Not a sentence normal people say very often, anyway.
So yeah, they're taken to the base. We've had some scenes at the base. We've seen Yuri, one of the prettier cast members.
Can I keep this looking like the moon base sets then? Because I just think it would.
I would think it would look quite a lot like it. I would have thought. Yeah.
Good.
So we've got Yuri in his kind of strange globular helmet putting out a sign. I can't remember what the sign says. There's some comedic sign that gets put out. Again,
funnily enough, a moon base reference. They made an effort to have different nationalities stuffing the moon base.
Yeah,
and they do it again. Yeah, I mean, I don't know the production history behind this episode, but it seems very much like maybe Phil Ford was the original writer, was doing a sort of Base Under Siege tribute, and then it's like a page one rewrite from Russell. So in the episode as it stands, there's kind of quite a sort of jump cut where you get immediately to Adelaide holding a gun to the Doctor's head inside the base. I mean, that's going to take a couple of scenes.
Take a bit longer. There's going to be lots of comedy business with Troughton kind of going, "Oh my word," and Jamie getting out of his thingy and kind of going, "Hey, what are you doing?" And all that sort of bit. Christ, man!
Jamie's going to get in a fight with Tarek or something, but yeah.
Jamie's going to get in the fight. Yeah, Jamie's going to get in a fight with the other young bloke in it. Yeah.
Oh, why?
Hey, Craig Hunter! And down he goes, and Troughton's going, oh dear, oh. Who's playing Adelaide?
That's a good question.
Patrick Barr.
Well, I was thinking, would they have cast a woman as the base commander in those days?
Let's hope. Well, it's written. The character's called Adelaide, so
yeah.
I would say let's give them the benefit of the doubt because, I mean, there's a lot of base commanders in this area, but there's no women base commanders, so let's put one in.
Yeah, so let's allow it.
Who's the actress from Seeds of Death? Louise.
Oh no, hang on.
Louise.
Louise Pajo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
A slightly younger Adelaide, but yeah.
Yeah, younger Adelaide.
Yeah. There's a kind of thing in Troughton where they kind of they do try to have sort of figures of authority that are female. But it's always slightly underscored by a kind of, she's clever as well as pretty kind of thing, isn't it? There's Well,
there's one
in the try.
Yeah. They're getting there. I mean, for 1968.
Yeah.
There's one in the Wheel in Space, isn't it? There's the psychiatrist lady's quite high up, and
there's several of them.
She's quite good, but
there's the other one. The one who's on the bridge all the time going, my nose knows things. It's a clever nose that knows what's going on.
But I mean, the 60s, the sort of Troughton era, they're quite good for that. And then it all goes backwards when Pertwee comes in. kind of.
Yeah.
Well, it stays all right for a season.
Yeah.
And then Joe turns up. Yeah, bless her heart.
Yeah.
I think the best one is probably in Web of Fear. It's and
he's great. Yeah.
Travers.
Yeah. Clearly, Liz Shaw's based on her. Yeah.
Actually, can I propose her for Adelaide instead? I think she's got the strength more than Louise Pajo has.
Yeah.
Adelaide's very much, I'm going to take no shit, and quite aggressively. I don't recall Miss Kelly kind of turning on people in the same way, but she's very good. Kind of fuck off, Chorley.
I love her line in the Web of Fear where she does that thing about when I was a little girl, I wanted to be a scientist, so I became one. And you think that is so ahead of its time.
It is. That was really nice.
67, 68.
Exactly she's going to play the bit about, obviously we're not using a Dalek, are we? We're not having when we get to that.
Yeah.
So go back to the script.
Yeah. I mean, I I think it's great how Troughton isn't threatened by that at all. And you know that, you put him in a base with Adelaide, he's going to flirt with her like you wouldn't believe. It's going to be
totally.
It's going to be sparks flying.
Exactly like he did all the way through rehearsal with the actress. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Be knickers flying.
So Adelaide's not particularly friendly at first, but Troughton's
he's doing what, sorry?
He's giving it some,
He's showing him charm on.
Yeah, some animal magnetism.
Right, the animal magnetism of Patrick Troughton.
If you read his biography, apparently he was imbued with it.
Well, indeed. Oh, indeed. I know the stories.
Yeah.
I kind of delight in the fact that it seems that Patrick Troughton is, Doctor Who's greatest shagster.
Yes.
Well, certainly up there, as it were.
Shagster Troughton. Yes.
Shagster Troughton. Oh my word.
The Doctor kind of realizes where he is. He knows that these people all disappear. The base gets blown up, and obviously it's very new series the way it's done, where you get sort of flashes of website stories and stuff like that.
Well, this would. I'll tell you what this is. I'll tell you how we retcon this. Again, I appear to be going back to the moon base. The moon base is calling me this episode. At the end, they try out the time scanner and they get a macroclaw waving around. So at the end of the previous story, because there would have been a cliffhanger lead-in, they tried out the time scanner, having said goodbye to Victoria, and saw a base, and they saw it blow up.
Excellent. Yeah.
So they started this story kind of, Jamie going, when they saw the base and went, look at the size of that thing, they kind of went, oh, Christ, that's the base. Because Jamie was playing by Billy Connolly that week because Times had bumps.
Well, you know what? We might even be edging towards the end of episode 1 in that case. We might,
Revelation.
Yeah. They realize that on this base that blows up, and you just get the Doctor going, oh, no.
Yeah.
That wasn't a Troughton impression. That was just
me. As well now.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh my word!
I cannot believe it! Oh, we're gonna die!
Oh, dear.
That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
So it's worth mentioning that we're introduced to the crew at this point. We've got the deputy called Ed, who Adelaide does not get on with. This is very base under siege. Patrick Barr, interesting. It's
been my moon base kick. I just want to get someone from the moon base, isn't it?
Go for it. Why not? And then we got the Doctor Tarak, and then there's some scientists. There's Steffi. There's Roman,
Mamma mia!
Robot, and Mia.
Roman in this is going to be, unfortunately, a really stereotypical Italian or something, isn't he? They're like, hey, bellissima, I'm the guy who's
really unfortunate.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit like that, I think. One step forward, a couple of steps back.
What a mistake to make. Yeah, and then Mia, with very, very pretty girls in it. So that presumably would be Zoe.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're going to probably spend maybe an episode or so getting introduced to these guys, but they're all in sort of the first scene there.
Yeah.
Wow, this is a vastly better intro for Zoe being saved from fated death than the being in space.
Yeah.
This is brilliant. Okay, this is now. So sometimes we can read time around.
So the Doctor realizes that they all die on the 21st of November 2059, and then he sees the calendar. Bum bum bum.
Oh no.
Oh no, Jamie. In the meantime, we've got some gardeners as well. They're in a sort of a greenhouse, they're growing their own food.
That's going to be a lovely painted backdrop, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like in the Ark.
It's probably something they wouldn't have done in the 60s. They'd all think would be
they would have done it. It would be a painted backdrop.
Well, they could have done it. I just, it's not a very 60s concept. I mean,
It is. It's the Ark.
I think for some reason, I think the gardeners would be played by sort of older actors. Be like sort of Percy Thrower or somebody.
Fantastic, excellent Percy Thrower. Oh no, Percy Thrower is going to be taken over by the Watter.
Yeah, that's basically what happens. Yeah, we've got Maggie and Andy picking some carrots. And then
I'll tell you who they are. They're not older. They're the really fey young couple from Enemy of the World. Colin and Mary, and they're dressed like that as well. Because there'd be the Flower Children. This is 1968. They're there. Okay. It's all symbolism, you see. It's the Flower Children growing the flowers, man.
Yeah.
Peace and love and water.
And then there's a really nicely directed scene where you're looking at Maggie and you see Andy out of focus over her shoulder as he's getting taken over. And really reminds you got Graeme Harper directing it. I mean, he does a great job on this. Anyway, so Andy.
And I'll tell you what, just to connect that on Graeme Harper being a floor manager on this as well.
Yeah.
He could have been.
He could have been. Yeah.
Standing there going, I wouldn't have done it like that.
You want to shoot over Maggie's shoulder and have him out of focus.
I think he was standing there quietly going,
yeah. So the Doctor is kind of saying he must leave, but he's getting sucked in by the mystery.
That's right. So we've got a problem here because I think by this point in the series history, it's very much still you do not change history. Very much laid down by Hartnell. I don't believe contradicted by Troughton at all.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. There's no talk of fixed points until.
No, nothing like that.
Tennant, really. So yeah, I don't think that's going to be part of it.
This is surely going to be one of those moments like the Aztecs. For Troughton, and that gives them the quandary. That's the kind of like ODR,
Yeah.
And they were all taking the piss out of going ODR and stuff. That chance to actually really act, which he was completely, that moment where he realizes, they're all going to die. Now what do I do? Do I save them or not? We could give him a little soliloquy like Hartnell's, or just on his own, just in the storeroom somewhere. He just walks off and debates with himself.
What?
I still think Jamie should be his conscience. He should be his sort of Jiminy Cricket, kind of going, oh no, you can't leave these people, Doctor.
Yeah.
There is that nice kind of hard edge. Troughton does it more in his first season, not like in Evil Daleks, where he does just quite callously engineer the end of the Daleks and then stand there watching.
Yeah.
I suppose that's the Time Lord Victorious moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
there is that lovely scene. That lovely scene of Evil where Jamie just falls out with him, and it's probably the only time it ever happens. But
absolutely, just stops trusting him completely. So I suppose that's the dynamic of this stuff, then, isn't it? Well, when we get to it anyway, because we haven't got there yet. So the Doctor's persuaded to remain. Adelaide takes the Doctor to the garden because they've heard that there's a problem there. Does Jamie go with him, or is Jamie kind of doing other things? Jamie's hanging around after one of the babes in the dome.
Yeah, he would be. Yeah,
Jamie's chatting up Zoe.
He's chatting up Zoe. Of course he is. Yeah.
And they're having their first character meeting and bonding scene. It's the audience is clearly going, "Oh, is she going to be the replacement girl?" Because that's what they've called them in 1968.
She's wearing a short skirt.
I had a production thought before this, actually. I better mention it at this point, because I think all the scenes involving water that had been shot at Ealing Studios, that had been shot on film. So that they would kind of had to have been. They couldn't do water in the electronic studio.
No.
Couldn't do that in Lime Grove. So anything that we've got water flowing through is Ealing.
Yeah.
Likely from the deep. Would the water have foam? It probably would, wouldn't it? I bet this is foamy Martian water.
It's going to be foam. Yeah. They love foam in the
foam of Mars. The foams of Mars.
The foam. I mean, the setup is quite Fury from the Deep, but there's sort of people getting taken over, and you could probably do something with got a really dark 60s lighting and creepy guys moving around.
Have we thought of a director yet? Well, should we have Camfield since it's Graeme Harper, his protege?
Yeah, can do. Yeah,
kind of, nice little connective linkage there, like tendons.
Yeah,
that's a tendon. Time tendon.
So could the Gemma Chan part be Xenia Merton?
Totally. Don't see why not.
Yeah.
Or that Japanese actress who's in Space 1999, who is Mickey Berenyi's mother. Did you know that?
I did not.
Sort of Xenia Merton's kind of replacement in the second series, who never says anything and just falls down a lot.
Do you know what? I've never seen the second series ever.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't bother.
It's worth seeing. It's worth seeing once.
Yeah.
So I watched the second series of Buck Rogers in the 20th century. I thought, well, why did I bother doing that?
I've been struggling through Buck Rogers in the 20th century. Yeah, I managed the first series all right, and then Hawkman turned up and stuff, who I loved as a kid.
Yeah.
Hello, Buck Rogers. I only ever saw the second half of because I was loyal to Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we're getting off the point.
Yes.
Slightly distracted, yeah. Okay,
so back to the foams of Mars.
The foams of Mars. So yes, Adelaide and the Doctor find Maggie. They find her in a big kind of corridor thing between the main sort of dome and the garden.
It's not that big this time.
It's not going to be quite as big as
that.
It's not quite as big. It's going to be a little Lime Grove set. So
it's a little corridor.
2 feet away, they find Maggie on the floor.
At the end, on the floor.
So they call Yuri to come in with the stretcher. Ed comes with him, and Adelaide really tears the strip out of him and sends him back to the main dome. And then they carry on. The Doctor,
is it too late to have David Hemmings as Yuri? Has he become successful by this point? Because he was out of the unknown around the same time.
David Hemmings. What year are we talking? 68.
Yeah.
He's in Barbarella in 68. I think he was already famous by then. Yeah.
No David Hemmings.
No. Who could you have? You could have what's his name?
Ian Fairbairn. If I can't have David Hemmings, it's got to be Ian Fairbairn, obviously. Who stalwart himself.
Yeah, I think what's his name? Brooke. Somebody Brooke.
Taylor.
The boy with the knack.
Boy with the knack. That guy. Yeah.
Ray Brooks.
Ray Brooks. Yeah. He wasn't huge at that point.
He's doing too well by that point as well.
Really?
I'd say.
Okay. Because he's in
too.
Yeah.
Leave it with Ian Fairbairn doing a Russian accent would be great.
Right. Tarak's there as well, the Doctor. And they all head on to the garden. And that's where Tarak meets Andy, who's got water dripping out of him, which is problematic. But we don't actually, I don't think we see quite what happens, but I mean you could really build up some tension at this point, I guess, with them kind of approaching him.
This is like the Oak and Quill scene that we've got, isn't it? This is what this looks like. They're sort of just standing there, you know, and the music's going something like bum, 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 all that, yeah.
So they're really kind of the way they chop through this story really quickly in the actual episode. But yeah, obviously we could spend a lot more time on this.
Yeah, I think this is slow and sinister and takes quite a bit of time.
Andy advancing on him. He's got his teeth painted black. He's got the lips, and he's he's obviously
got foam coming out of his face.
Foam coming out of his face. Not quite sure how they do it, but yeah,
don't know.
He's dribbling quite a lot.
Maybe we'll stick with water.
So in the meantime, back in the main dome, we've got Maggie's been put into isolation, and there's a scene with her and Yuri. Until she kind of transforms as well. It's directed in quite a similar way. She kind of sort of starts appearing over Yuri's shoulder.
We're heading to a crescendo, aren't we? And less than 1 minute on the recording.
Yeah.
I think we're heading to an end of episode 2, aren't we? Basically, you've got these information going on. You've got the Doctor being borne down upon by people.
Yeah.
Water coming out. I think we're heading towards the end of episode 2, aren't we?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So we were talking about Maggie transforming in the isolation ward in the medical bay. I suppose we should mention that Yuri is talking about his brother who is in a same-sex relationship. Which
no, he's not.
Yeah,
not in 1968. He's not. Not in 1968, I think.
Not in 1968, no.
Not unless it's on BBC Two at 11 o'clock at night, and involving Kenneth Tynan.
So yes, that's a very Russell touch, which sadly we can't transport to 1968. Really,
I don't think. No. I don't think you'd even be talking about his brother.
I mean, there's a lot of effort that they go into to give them the characters backgrounds, even though they all die off fairly quickly. But they really, it wouldn't go much beyond an accent, really, would it?
or they'll be going into long speeches about the science of the place and how amazing it was and how things work. That late 60s kind of belief in science.
Yeah,
science is very popular, and we're all going to the moon, and let's try and make it grounded in the science. There'll be lots of talk about that. Who's written this?
Yeah.
Do we think
in the 1960s? It's probably a Kit Pedler concept, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it David Whittaker and Kit Pedler? Because I mean, David Whittaker wrote The Wheel in Space, so
Well,
taking the place
it
of
might
it.
well be, yeah. But
And
yeah.
then excellent. We've got half an episode about food machines. Job. So, and the transformation. I was just thinking, the transformation that's going to be a cross dissolve on film, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like the Yeti changing.
Yeah.
Beginning with the fear.
Yeah. Probably the
suspect.
similar music. Yeah. What was that? Bartok.
Bartok, yeah.
So I suppose, if it's Douglas Camfield directed, it's going to be fairly scary.
Yes. Yeah, it'll be well. He might do the same trick. He might do, in the background. No, that was the earlier transformation, wasn't it? I'm getting the transformations confused. Ignore me.
It does it twice, I think. I think both of these transformations, it happens in the background, and then
right.
And then
might go for that. Yeah, it'll be atmospheric. It'll be good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So let me just get back on track with what I'm saying.
Well, then
so
episode 2.
We're in episode 2. We're in episode 3 now, aren't we? That was probably
episode 3. Yeah.
Next episode 2. So we've got the Doctor and Adelaide in the garden, and
flirting like buggery,
flirting like you would not believe.
It's just searing up the screen.
Yeah. And then they see Andy and Tarak, and obviously this is a moment for going, when I say run,
of course,
run like a rabbit.
Yep.
And then they run, which is basically what happens in the episode.
And the baddies run after them.
Until
this is going to be like the Seeds of Death. This is going to be the chase in the Seeds of Death in the moon base.
Yeah.
With like sort of jaunty music like that, and Troughton running up and down and going, oh! and turning around and running back, and having a laugh with it, and the two things lumbering slowly after them.
I mean, in the episode, they're hiding in an airlock, which doesn't feel very 60s, but I think they would just run away.
Yeah.
So Adelaide's telling her team, don't touch the water. And then they jump on the robot, Servo Servo.
So, we have got a problem here. Servo Servo is not going to be able to do this bit. He's just not, bless him.
So
the kid inside,
just run away. Yeah.
Picking up Patrick Troughton and Tina Packer and running at superhuman speed. Unless they actually speed the film up, in which case the whole sequence is brilliant and hilarious. And we lament the fact that this episode's missing these days. We've got one telly snap to show this entire sequence.
It'll be just a lot of audio with some rumbling and chundling and stuff.
The thing is, you probably wouldn't actually need the faster robot stuff, because the base is only like 500 yards across.
True, and the beasties are going to be lumbering slowly after them anyway, waving their arms in the air in a proved manner. But still, I like the idea of it happening, so it should still happen somehow. I want to see the Servo Servo chase scene.
So they get back to the dome. They manage to shut out Andy and Tarak, and this is where we get the real base under siege meet, if you like. And they're kind of stuck outside, and our heroes are inside. And the Doctor's telling us that water always wins.
Troughton's fuming that. He's all over that. He's really selling that one. He's in big close up.
Yeah.
You
can imagine, can't you? So they're safe for now. They're observing Maggie. And they work out that the water's coming from ice that's actually on Mars. It's Martian ice. And the Doctor realizes there's something in it. There's something in the water, Jamie.
The trouble is, this being a Troughton story is just completely heading to an ice warrior turning up.
You kind of want one of the big ones.
Totally is. I mean, Jamie's going to be looking at him going, wait a minute, Doctor. Ice on Mars? Going, shush, Jamie. I know.
Yeah.
That is going to be happening.
Yeah, there's ice warriors behind it somewhere, somehow. Yeah. I don't know how. So Adelaide and Ed decide to evacuate the base, and the Doctor's at this point in the story, Tennant's going, I really should leave. I really must go. But instead, he goes to visit the ice field with Adelaide. And there's quite a nice scene where Adelaide questions the Doctor next to the ice, and he starts talking about fixed moments in time, and Adelaide remembers Daleks, which is probably where it breaks a little bit.
You read the part at this point. Yeah. Well, when is it set?
Set in 2059.
The Dalek invasion of Earth hasn't happened yet, has it? So
no.
She remembers the story her mother told her of the day that she was visiting the Empire State Building in 1965, and was hiding away. And so, in fact, Adelaide, was she? No, the ages wouldn't work. Yeah, her mother. And there was this mad Texan there, and well, actually, no, he's not from Texas, he's Alabama. And she remembered the Daleks. There you are. Retcon.
You never know what we might get before.
Yeah, that might not happen now.
True.
We might get William Hartnell.
I say we cut this scene and make it more like the kind of the Tomb of the Cybermen chat with Victoria. You know, more general.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Keep the scene. Keep the sort of general thing of it, and keep Adelaide going. I always felt I was meant to do something.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't a Dalek. It was just, I don't know. She had a really nice shit that morning, and went, I'm made to do something with my life.
Why not?
Yeah.
And the flirting stops.
I don't hear any other ideas. I don't hear any other Dalek replacements unless you're suddenly going to brandish a proton.
Well, I mean, it'd be nice to get the Ice Warriors in it somehow, but I'm not quite sure how.
To do something with your life, you must stay alive at all costs. This is genuinely a warning.
But the Chronons didn't happen until the Sylvester McCoy.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Time Ram is complicated, man. Shit, we need that flow chart. We need
the complexity of Time Ram.
I don't know where I am anymore. I've got all giddy. Oh my word.
That's 4 episodes. Imagine when we're like 30 episodes down the line.
It's possible we could do exactly what they do in the episode, because we've just had whatever that episode is. I don't know. Late Tennant episode.
We're talking about anymore. Where are we?
The one with the one where the Daleks move the Earth across space. The stolen Earth.
Oh.
Is it the stolen Earth? I don't know. It's a Tennant one.
Anyway,
yeah.
That might have been the previous story for all we know. We don't know.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. We may have had, it won't be though, will it? Because that'd be too convenient. It'll be a 4-part version of Inferno where the world gets destroyed at the end. Because Time Ram.
We'll park it until we do that one. Adelaide remembers something non-specific that we're not sure about.
And Adelaide remembers something that we'll one day fill in the blanks of. We'll come back to this, right? We'll start making a list of things we can come back to and retcon and plug all the gaps, so that eventually Time Ram will make complete sense. We will all be about 70 by the time we finish, and that's if I start making Doctor Who now,
So the Doctor works out that it's just one filter broke, which is why the guys in the garden were infected, but nobody else.
That's why David Whittaker. Oh, it was a spring.
Yeah. All
right, I'll go with that.
It was a filter. We had filter keeping out the evil. The evil filter broke. Now the evil got in.
This turns into a rant about relying too much on technology.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Troughton saying how much he hates computers and stuff because the computer didn't point it out.
Yeah.
Because maybe the computer goes gadget gadget. Maybe it goes computer. It's just as stupid.
If it's David Whittaker, then something somewhere ran out of Mercury.
I kind of like to think it's a computer like that one that's kind of proto Marvin from Seeds of Death. Stockholm sending now, Washington receiving now. There's nothing in my life. I'm really depressed.
There are moments when that computer sounds like Max Wall.
It totally has that demeanor. It would be great to have a computer that has the demeanor of Max Wall in this, and it didn't find the filter, and it's kind of like, oh, I've failed you all. Why bother existing in the first place? Man should not rely on computers. No, I think we've learned an important lesson today, haven't we? Yes, Doctor.
Maybe if we wanted to get the Ice Warriors into it, maybe they're just below the ground, like poking the filter with a stick.
Is it Sonic?
Yeah, Sonic stick. Yeah.
We're not going to get the Ice Warriors into it now, are we?
No,
I don't know how. I'd love to, but I don't know how we can do it. Yeah.
Well, a thought does occur. It means borrowing, though. It means borrowing from a different epistopic interface of the vortex.
Mm.
What we could do is have a single Ice Warrior or an Ice Lord, so it's kind of like Empress of Mars in that way. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Under the ice, under the ice field, there is a tomb.
Yeah.
Or it could be like the Chinese, the clay soldiers.
Yeah.
It could be like loads of ice warriors.
Terracotta army.
As the ice starts melting, then they'll all start coming to life. At least the first row of them start coming to life, and the other ones are only ever seen in long shot. And at which point they're replaced by Hertz plastic molders Daleks, because no one's made an ice warrior toy.
Meanwhile, back at the base, Maggie escapes. I guess is where Jamie can have a bit of action here, and
Yes, Jamie's not been doing much, has he?
He hasn't been doing much because he's not in it.
Protecting Zoe a lot.
He'll be protecting Zoe and escaping.
Zoe's been doing fuck all.
Yeah.
Zoe's been being the voice of doom and reason.
Yeah.
Maybe Zoe finds the filter. Maybe Jamie and Zoe have been finding out it's the filter. She's been using her computer skills.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I like that.
So when they run back, it's kind of like Jamie goes, "Hey, apparently it's a filter, whatever the fuck that is."
Maybe the Doctor stays in the base, and Jamie and Zoe go to check out the ice, and then they get threatened by ice lords, ice warriors, and that's
So are we having ice warriors then?
I don't know, but it might complicate things.
Something for them to do.
We need something for them to do. Maybe they do beat at least one ice warrior who's a bit. Groggy. Shirty with them. Yeah. Grubby.
Groggy.
Oh, Groggy.
He wouldn't be grubby. He's been his ice, hasn't he? He'd be fine. He'd be all kind of, washed down as it sluices away.
Oh, that's a grubby ice warrior. He washed himself. What's he got all those magazines for?
Maybe you just have one turning up at the end as the TARDIS is leaving, and he's just going, "Shit, too late."
I'm just imagining Ice Warrior porn now. What the hell is that going to be like?
What kind of like lizards disporting themselves across rocks? Do you want to get mildly above freezing with me? Where the hell were we? Oh, so if we're having, let's commit to Ice Warriors or not. We need to know one way or the other here. Let's not shilly-shally around the Ice Warrior issue. Are there Ice Warriors coming out of this ice towards Jamie and Zoe? I like it. Why not? Even if it's just like 3.
Yeah.
Better than no Ice Warriors.
Yeah.
I guess our problem is that this evil that's coming out of the water and infecting people is entirely unrelated to the Ice Warriors, unless they put it in there.
Yeah, it's Ice Warrior related evil. Of course, they put it in there. It's defense. It's smart water.
Right.
Yeah, it's Ice Warrior smart water.
Ice Warrior smart water. Yes.
It's a way of protecting these. Maybe these are their kind of like most revered elders or something like that, and they have to be looked after by Wata.
This could end up being the first Ice Warrior story. Because the Ice Warriors might end up being like Peter Capaldi or something.
I'm betting. I'm kind of hoping we're going to get Hartnell and Ian and Barbara and Susan in the Curse of Peladon.
Okay, so this is
they're old Ice Warriors though, so they're all a bit wizened. They're like, oh, behind China. Sorry, oh, behind China.
Yes. They would be talking like this.
Yeah.
Humans on my China.
They'll have perspex walking sticks like Nita Clent.
Yeah.
When I need a walking stick, I'm going to make myself one. I'm going to fashion myself one out of purest perspex.
I'm now picturing the Ice Warriors kind of marching along like the MCC.
So I don't know what they're there for, mind you, but there's got to be a monster in it.
Yeah,
this is the monster season.
Yeah, this is the monster. We need a physical monster. That's quite good.
So Ice Warriors.
Ice Warriors taking over humans with the water. Yeah. Okay.
And turning them into, it's like Robomen. They turn them into a slave race. Or maybe it just burns them out or kills them or whatever. It sends them mad.
Yeah.
And it's hugely infectious, which totally ties in with the Seeds of Death. So precedent, geomorphere.
So at this point, the Doctor makes another attempt to leave the base, and there's a really nice scene where Adelaide traps him in the airlock.
But he wouldn't do that now, would he? Because Jamie's not there for a start.
Well, yeah. It's probably the highlight of the episode for me, though. It's great where he says, Tennant's he's really good in these quiet moments.
Oh, totally.
And it's kind of electrifying here. He says, you die today.
Mm-hmm.
And she's kind of, what if I don't let you go? Who's going to save you, Doctor? He says, you are, And
But I tell you what. How about she's got the door control that will allow Jamie and Victoria to get away from Victoria and Zoe to get away from the Ice Warriors, and she's not letting him impress it.
Yeah, she's demanding answers until
So keep the scene, keep the essence of the scene. It's just the doctor that's locked up. It's them prevented from escape.
Okay, I like that.
As the ancient Ice Warriors hobble closer.
We are the men of the AMCC.
It's grubby Ice Warriors.
Well, there'll be Ice Lords, really. There'll be all kind of the really old Ice Lords.
Yeah.
One of them played by Wilfred Brambell.
You dirty old Ice Warrior.
Jamie, I'm cold.
So at this point, things start to ramp up. Andy and Tarek are actually on the roof of the base. They've worked out how to get in, and they start releasing water on the roof. And it's
quite set heavy. This roof, I tell you what, this roof is a piece of silver painted plywood in front of a sheet of the back cloth.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of a flappy wind blowing. That's it. That's all they've got by this point. This is quite an expensive episode. We've got Ice Warriors melting out of ice now as well, you know.
Yeah, it's quite difficult this bit because the water basically breaks into the base. It's flooding down through the ceiling, and Steffi gets trapped behind a wall of water, which you just, you know.
So they drown Zaroff. You know, you do it in Ealing, you do it in the water tank at Ealing.
You could do it at Ealing, yeah.
So it looks like drowning Zaroff, or it looks like, you know, what we've got of Fury from the Deep. You know, just flooding everything. You know, there's no reason that they wouldn't and couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It's just they couldn't have the water all the way through, you know, the pervasive presence in the videotape studio.
Yeah.
So the water's broken through. What's happening with the Ice Warriors and Jamie and Zoe then? We have to invent all this now. Are they still advancing? Because they've been advancing. I know they're old, but they have been advancing for quite a while now.
Well, I guess if the Doctor talks Adelaide around, she's going to let Jamie and Zoe back in again. And this is the point, obviously, where they're trying to evacuate.
Yep.
And in the episode, it all happens quite quickly, but basically, a huge percentage of the guest cast is killed off in a few scenes. It's very RTD.
I tell you what, can I go back and revise the backstory then? All right, these aren't Ice Lords or anything. This was a biological research facility or something like that, where the Ice Warriors were developing bioweapons, and it went wrong, and they literally put it on ice because that's what the Ice Warriors do when something goes wrong. On the grounds that their people there will actually survive in hibernation, and if they can find a way of dealing with it, they can get them out one day. And the humans built their base on top of it without the foggiest idea of this, and have been releasing things that it's like if aliens landed on a place where we drop our nuclear waste, and started boring into it without the foggiest clue what it was. That's what happened.
Cool. Yeah. So so a lot of the cast get killed off here. It's kind of similar, I guess, to episode 4 of the Web of Fear, where they plow through the best cast there. So Steffi's trapped. There's quite an affecting scene where she sort of sees her family and then she turns into a water monster. Ed is on the rocket setting up for takeoff, and then Maggie appears and she gets him, and Roman just gets a single drip on his face, and that's the end of him. And in the meantime, obviously in the episode, Mamma Mia. In the meantime, the Doctor's walking away, but I guess obviously not so much in our version. But this all happens while the Doctor's outside the base.
Why is the Doctor outside the base?
Maybe he's got an idea. Maybe he's trying to do something. Maybe he's trying to get to Jamie. Maybe Jamie's somewhere.
He's trying to get to Jamie.
Yeah.
He's trying to get to Jamie, or he's trying to find some mechanism that'll do a thing.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what he's trying to do. He's trying to get to the internal temperature controls so he can freeze the entire building.
Ah, clever Doctor.
Yeah.
That's what he'd do, innit?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And just literally stop the water in its tracks by freezing it. Why didn't they do that?
I think we're in episode 4 now, so we haven't had an episode 3 ending.
I think, I don't know. Well, the cliffhanger was the Ice Warriors melting.
Ice Warriors turn up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's obviously the cliffhanger to episode 3.
Yeah.
And lurching towards Jamie and Zoe.
Okay. So episode 4, we kill off most of the guest cast, and I guess the end of the episode will be realizes his freezing plan doesn't work. Something goes wrong. The Ice Warrior gets there first and lumbers over him.
Well, I don't think we'd have the same ending that we do in the Troughton era.
I'm thinking 6 episodes. I've got to admit, I'm thinking 6. So we've got 2 more episodes. Yeah.
Where the chod are we supposed to get another episode and 3/4 from?
Yeah, it's going to be
unless it's one just set all in the TARDIS, because that's all that they've got left, and there's a white void outside.
Well, you say that, but they manage it in the Web of Fear. Everyone dies in episode 4, and then somehow they string 2 episodes out of nothing.
Oh no, I'm thinking, where the hell do we get more story out of the original Waters of Mars from?
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
There's not much left. Yeah. There's not another episode and a half left here. 6 episodes. Well, we're going to have to go off on one about the Ice Warriors, then, aren't we?
Yeah.
Monster of Peladon structure, where they don't turn up until halfway through, and then suddenly, we're off on an Ice Warrior story now.
Well, in the Waters of Mars, the Doctor eventually comes back again when it's basically just Adelaide, Yuri, and Mia left.
Mm-hmm.
The hole's breaching. Everybody else is dead. They're in terrible trouble. And then the Doctor comes back in. He's being very intense.
Mm-hmm. He is being a bit intense.
He's being a bit intense. This is the bit where this is the bit where I'm not so keen on Tennant, to be honest.
Yeah.
And he electrocutes Andy. He releases Gadget while Maggie is in the background. She's cracking the glass here. She's trying to get more water out. So you could take longer over that. You could have them all trapped in there for quite a while.
The trouble is knowing where this is going. There's no point in going down this road, because they ain't going to do that with the TARDIS.
No.
Because the TARDIS doesn't work.
No, that's true. We need a completely different ending, don't we? Yeah.
Yeah, from now on, we're kind of, I think, in uncharted territory. I mean, it would be nice if Servo Servo could somehow be implicated in solving the day. I like that, because I'm quite fond of Servo Servo. I don't think the Doctor would be out. Sorry, I think that the whole thing of trying to go and help James. I know he's off to try to freeze the place, isn't he?
He's trying to freeze the place, yeah. I mean, I would. Yeah. That's why I'm saying the end of episode 4 is that plan fails. So he's spending episode 5 trying to come up with another way to defeat the bad guys.
Right. I see. So you've rejected my perfectly good way of dealing with it, and have to think of it. Well, you think of another one then. I'm spent.
If they're going to use the robot, it's going to be something that the robot can do that a person couldn't. So it's going to either be
nothing that costume could do that a person couldn't.
Well, something too cold for a human being, or something like that, or too
wet.
That doesn't work with a robot.
Actually, yeah, the robot's the only thing there that wouldn't be susceptible to the water dripping on it, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Servo can save the day. It's the Ice Warriors and their smart water death.
Maybe he sends Servo Servo in to negotiate.
No, they'd have cameras and have screens that talk to each other.
He could have a really tragic death scene instead of just being left in a street, which is what happens to the robot.
Yeah, kind of conks out. Shall I go through what actually happens in the episode?
Let's see what we can piece together.
Okay. So, the Doctor's, as we've said, he releases Gadget. Adelaide has decided to blow up the base. She sets off a nuclear countdown. Gadget sort of flies the TARDIS to them by remote. It sounds quite difficult. And then they get back to Earth. And Mia and Yuri run off, the only other survivors. Adelaide's not very happy with the Doctor for saving her, and he's off his bloody face. He's off. He's
gone.
Yeah. He's nuts. He's talking about the Time Lord Victorious. Which lasts for about 2 minutes, and then Adelaide shoots herself, and then that's it for the Time Lord Victorious. It doesn't really go anywhere.
Yeah, no. Time Lord Victorious.
Yeah, the Doctor comes to his senses. Ood Sigma turns up briefly. And then the Doctor says things. Well, he's kind of thinking, "Is this the end of me?" And then he says, "No," and that's it.
Yeah,
he leaves, and off he goes. Yeah,
we can't use any of that.
Not really. No.
No.
At all, really. Apart from that, I would love at the very end, as just the Doctor's about to go to the TARDIS, like a spectral macra turns up, and the Doctor goes, "Is this my end?" And Macra goes, "Ah!" "Oh my word!" and goes to the TARDIS.
Oh my giddy aunt.
Exactly. Okay, well, let's just invent it from scratch from this point then.
Okay, yeah.
Because we have to. So,
yeah.
So the freezing hasn't worked.
Okay, yeah, let's go with that. Yeah.
Now, don't say, okay, you proposed it. I came up with a freezing, which I thought, oh, this is a good.
I was just thinking, if it's a base under siege, I'm following the Web of Fear structure.
Idea.
So, yeah. Episode 5 is them trapped in one room, trying to work out what to do.
So one room with water coming into it.
With water coming into it.
Right, that they all have to keep away from.
Yeah.
So this one's entirely shot at Ealing Studios then. This is all on film.
You have this as a sort of secondary control panel that can do the same thing from the freezingment. But they'd have to go through the water, so they send the robots.
Okay.
Yeah. The freezing plan will still work. The Ice Warriors got in the way somehow.
And cut them off.
Like they destroyed the control panel. Yeah.
Yeah. So they need to find another way of doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's another control panel, but they need to go through the water.
And you literally just join the wires together.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Excellent. Gentlemen, we've time around that. So they do that and they refreeze everything. The water stops and the Ice Warriors just go, and stay there.
There's one Ice Warrior left for a final confrontation, and the Doctor decides to go in himself.
Does he?
Yeah. It's the Tomb of the Cybermen ending. We're ripping off everything.
Do you think Servo would have a kind of William Shatner death where he just kind of goes, it was fun?
I think, well, so if we're having a last Ice Warrior, presumably Servo is going to heroically cannon into it and cannon it over a ravine.
Yeah.
Or something like that, you know.
Cue model shot.
Yeah. Something
Caldinez
and the poor kid in the Servo robot go onto a mattress and then model shot of some cardboard.
The final end, Jamie.
And back to the TARDIS with one of the survivors, and the other two get left there, presumably.
I guess, yeah.
Don't want them. Don't want them at all. Taking Zoe.
Yeah. Adelaide's there going, Doctor, you've got to help me explain this. And she turns around and he's just not there anymore.
And he's just gone. Yeah.
He's just gone. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Zoe impulsively runs after them a moment later.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They all start getting back to their routine, and Zoe's just looking around them and going, "This isn't for me anymore. I have the calling," and leaves. And skits off down the corridor after them.
Puts on a spacesuit and impulsively.
Yeah, gets on a spacesuit.
Yeah.
And runs out all the way to. I forgot the TARDIS was outside. And so you get a last minute kind of moment of comedy and drama, because they're nearly back at the TARDIS and she's just running after them, and if she doesn't get there in time before the TARDIS dematerializes, then she won't have enough oxygen to get back.
Yeah, they have to save her the last second. Yeah.
Well, they have to notice her is the main thing. So they'd get into the TARDIS and they'd be just about to pull a lever, and then suddenly Jamie looks up and she goes, "Hey, Doctor, look at that." And it's Zoe running towards them going, "Wait for me."
It's that wee lassie
turns up going, "Ah!" and it's all very symbolic and big close-up of Troughton, and then he opens the doors and lets Zoe in.
The end. I'm quite glad we got to the end of that without having Troughton mention the Time Lord Victorious. That's quite good.
Yeah, well, he just wouldn't, would he?
No, he wouldn't.
The final ends as far as he goes. Well, I think that worked quite well in the end. I mean, the end was a mess. The end was,
it needs work. Yeah,
that did actually adapt to being a Troughton story pretty well. And it would have been a great Troughton story. It would have been a great story.
Yeah.
Unless candidly directed, in which case it would have been terrible. So if we're giving it Canfield, it would be a great story. If we're giving it Morris Barry when he's not on form, then it's a bit problematic.
Yeah.
But Troughton would have been great in it.
Yeah.
Good intro for Zoe. And I can really picture what it looked like. It would have looked like the movie. With elements of the Seeds of Death, I think. But that's pretty much what the thing would have looked like.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
So is this better or worse than what we got? I think so different that it's an impossible comparison.
Yeah.
It's a different.
You know, there's no way. I don't. You know, that so the approaches of the Doctor are so totally different. That you know, you can't really compare them at all. I think they'd both be good. I think they'd both be very entertaining. I think the Tennant one would exist still.
Yeah, I mean, the Waters of Mars for me. I mean, I watched that again. I was like, actually, this is just astonishingly good. I was really enjoying it up until the last 5 minutes, really, which kind of ruined the
I could
whole
have done
thing.
without the robot.
Yeah,
and I could have done without I never liked the Doctor being the lonely god.
Yeah, he does this Time Lord Victorious thing, which is kind of irritating, and then he goes all whiny, and he's stuck that way for the next 2 episodes. It's
he is culminating in his 20-minute regeneration.
Yeah, like, for God's sake, just die already. You know, it's like
I actually said that at the time. I think I actually said, "Oh, just get on with it," you know. But hey,
thing is, the Tennant one kind of needs all that stuff because really the story is paper thin. There's very little to it. It's kind of, you know, people on Mars are using the water infects them, they get infected, they try and run away from it.
And
end of story.
That's
pretty much it.
Let's face it, as fans, we were given the premise, which is ice on Mars. I was hoping. I was really rooting for Ice Warriors. You know, our version, we're not cheating anyone. In our version, you get the damned Ice Warriors. They don't do very much. They lurch towards Jamie and Zoe a bit, and then they get frozen again. But they're there. And I think they do that for about 2 episodes. But they're there.
Yeah. So marks out of 10?
It's impossible to assess, having only seen episodes 3 and 6, and the rest is telescope reconstructions.
Yeah, that is a pain.
I'd love to see Servo Servo in action properly.
Yeah.
But you know, we get his finale in episode 6, obviously, his grand death, but we get none of the setup.
No.
And fans say they remember him very fondly. You know.
Why didn't he come back? Why didn't we ever see Servo Servo again? You know,
I don't know. I mean, I suppose, was it a change of producer? Derek Sherman was coming in. Maybe he wanted to move away from cutesy robots. You know.
Yeah.
They don't have to be missing. We have the power to make them not missing.
I think if we're replacing the story, then it should be. We should have. You know, there must be lots.
We have the power. We are time ram victorious. On the basis of the story, though, I'd probably give it I'd quite highly 7 maybe out of 10.
Yeah,
I
think I'll give it a generous 8 out of 10.
The Troughton version will be a lot more padded than what we've got.
Yeah,
I think it wouldn't be. I think it would be actually probably a bit better than the Wheel in Space. Though I do think that's quite. I think we're missing some quite atmospheric stuff from the Wheel in Space that would help sell it along. But I don't know, 6, 7.
I actually really like the Wheel in Space. I mean, it works better in isolation. If you watch it immediately after Fury from the Deep, you're like, didn't I just watch this story? But in isolation, it's quite nicely put together. You know, I've enjoyed the recon. You know, not David Whittaker's best, but it's, you know,
no, it is a bit flabby, I think. But then the trouble is, a lot of that time you were given the slot. Look, you've got 6 episodes. Phil, I mean, you know, this is what led to the next the War Games happening.
Yeah.
You know, you've just got to fill X number of episodes. End of.
Yeah, and I think Whittaker's just tired by that point. He's just, you know,
we're all tired. The Ice Warriors are tired. They're old. They're grotty.
They're grubby.
So, well, we better do the numbers, haven't we?
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, the easy one, 1 to 13. Our Doctor is Patrick Troughton again.
Ooh.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, 218.
218. I don't like
that.
Oh dear, that's interesting. Right. Okay. Is bloody hell. A Good Man Goes to War.
Hell.
With Patrick Troughton.
Oh, that's impossible.
How the fuck are we going to do that?
It's all about pregnancy and childbirth. Yes. That's not happening in 1967. Well, yeah, present your way out of that one. You just heard our reaction to the. How would you do that, Patrick Troughton? In A Good Man Goes to War. Maybe the introduction of the Sontarans to the Doctor Who universe in the form of Nurse Strax.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The Doctor's wife turning up. Maybe before we've even met the Time Lords. I mean, the Time Lords are going to have a field day with this. Wow. Join us next time for possibly our greatest challenge yet. In Time Ram. We have been Time Ram. If you'd like to get in touch with us, we can be mostly found on Twitter, where I am at Rupert Booth, Baz is at Baz Time Ram, and Paul is Paul Ferry 8. There's also a Facebook page, and we have an email address even, info@timeram.com. Thank you to Ben Jones for providing our music as ever. Please go and support him on SoundCloud. There are links on our website. And if you'd like to support the production of this amazing podcast, give us some money via Patreon. It's that simple.